Huh? Wait, we're starting right now? I didn't know we were starting. Why didn't you give me any warning? Sorry about that. Looks like I didn't really get the memo that we were doing this right now at this moment during my tea time. Anyway, welcome everyone to another episode of AniMel. If you haven't been here before, I'm Mel, the host of this channel. And today, this episode will be very different from every single episode that we've done before. So if you've never been to my channel before you watch this video, please go watch something else that's more related to the theme of my channel. Because in this episode, we'll be doing a Q&A as a commemorative, commemorative moment for reaching over 300 subs. So yay! But also because my birthday has just passed, so I thought, why don't we just blend it all into one and try a Q&A out. And if you haven't been here before but have not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more content, not like this, but like the rest of my videos. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone who submitted a question. We got questions through YouTube, we got questions through Instagram, and we got questions through Threads. So I'll be covering basically every single question that I got in this video, unless, I end up running out of time in some shape or form. And I will note that if you didn't submit a question, it looks like I got a mix of questions. I got questions ranging from my anime preferences or not preferences, along with some personal questions. So if you are interested in either, this video is a great video for you to continue watching. So my first question comes from the Recovering Elitist through Threads. Their question is more of a personal question, and it's, what are your creative dreams and goals for yourself? That is a really great question. And to be honest, I feel like I've thought about it in so many shapes and forms over the years. I have thought about it in the shape of creative type of businesses. I used to run a soccer photography and filmography company, but that failed. So we've tried all sorts of creative things, and that stems from the fact that I've always enjoyed working with cameras ever since I was a kid. I was very much a fan of being in front of the camera and also writing scripts to act out with like my younger cousins and friends. So, it's always been like a part of me. But if I'm going to be more specific about AniMel, my channel, and what you guys engage with on a regular basis, I would say my creative goals for this channel is to provide a place where I can provide a comprehensive, descriptive, analytical, but concise analysis, reviews of anime that I've watched or engaged with, and also manga. Next question comes from Dev the Great, who is one part of Gassen Anime or Gassame. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So their question is, if you could watch one anime again for the first time in 2024, what would it be? I've seen this question get passed around a lot, in the community over time. And I've seen a lot of people say Attack on Titan. And sometimes I think to myself, Attack on Titan would be great to see again for the first time. But then I think to myself and I say, I remember that moment at the end of season 3 when we really figured things out. And it's not what I was expecting at all. If anything, it made my enjoyment for Attack on Titan a lot less. So I'm not going to say Attack on Titan. That's one show I don't think I'd ever want to rewatch again for the first time. I actually don't think I'll ever rewatch it again. But I will say that if I did have to pick one, it would probably be a similar type of thriller suspense anime. Hopefully you all have heard of Summertime Rendering. Summertime Rendering is one of those suspense thriller time travel shows that does time travel really well. Like, it explains it well. There's no like weird loopholes. I think there are like semi-paradoxes, but it's not like intense. And the story is really short. It's only 26 episodes. So I feel like that's something that I could easily rewatch, easily be super engaged. It wouldn't be like rewatching One Piece, because I've thought about rewatching One Piece again for the first time if I could, and think there's a need to rewatch it again for the first time. So yeah, Summertime Rendering. Next question comes from the Side Quest Hustle. Their question is, how do you manage your time being a content creator with work, life, etc.? I'm still figuring it out. There are times that I don't film for long periods of time, aka throughout the summer. If you notice, this summer has been very inconsistent. But when I am consistent and am regularly posting and do have a manage on my schedule in content creating and regular life, it usually involves a couple of things. One, I keep a planner. I keep a planner to manage my regular life, and I keep a planner to manage the content that I want to work on. I do actively try to make an effort in planning out content at least 4 weeks in advance, and I try to keep that going consistently, adding a new idea for any of the weeks that continue to follow. Two, I create time blocks for myself. So either early in the morning between the hours of 6 and 9, because I work from home, so I have that flexibility, or after work between the hours of like 6 and 11. I try to find probably 2 to 3 hour time windows within those time blocks I mentioned, and work either on editing, find time to film, or like create shorts and reels, which I'm failing at miserably. And number three, even though I do have time blocks in which to work on my content, I do try to keep myself flexible. So if I think that I'm going to dedicate time from 6 to 9 and then something just hits the fan, we do try to stay flexible mentally and physically so that I can continue to work on my content. All right, a more anime related question. This comes from the Real Chan Anime. The Real Chan Anime, or Chan, has her own YouTube channel as well. It's really cute. Sometimes her videos are centralized around anime experiences or ways to engage with anime and manga in the Southern California area. So if you live in Southern California, I highly suggest you check out her channel. It is really adorable. So their question is 5 characters to play on your paintball team. Go. All right. I saw your question, Chan, and I was like, I need to detail out specifically who I want on my team. So the first person that I have on my team is Lady Nagant from My Hero Academia. She first appears in season 6, and she's just like a real shooter, sniper. I also like her vibe and her style. She seems like strategic too, and very analytical about like her trajectories and stuff. So I feel like she's optimal to have on the team. Next person is Vash from Trigun. If you've never seen Trigun, there's Trigun from the 90s and Trigun Stampede that came out in, I want to say 2022, and they're coming out with a part 2 or a season 2 to that. Vash has like the most accurate, impeccable like shooting that I've ever seen in like all of anime, especially with the type of gun that he uses. It's not like he uses a rifle or anything like that. My next character, and I feel like, you know, I'd prefer to go with his dad, but I've never really seen his capabilities, so we're gonna go with the son, Usopp from One Piece. Usopp has proven time and time again that he's a fantastic sniper, despite being a coward in the face of immense danger, but I feel like if it's paintball, it shouldn't be that big of a deal, right? And, you know, observations hockey is a super duper perk. Rizal Hawkeye from Full Metal Alchemist or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is next on my list. She is really good with a gun, a rifle, like any type of like weaponry like that, despite having no like alchemy skills in a universe and world where they use alchemy as main power source. And then last on my list, not really someone who's like a shooter like some of the other people on my list, but then I thought to myself like, oh, you know, I've got all these like shooters and snipers. I feel like I need someone to like analyze the playing field. So last on my list, I've got Deku or Midoriya Izuku because he is extremely clutch in the middle of like a crisis in front of battle. And in any instance, like analyzing people's strengths, their weaknesses, and I feel like he'd be like my eyes and ears all over the playing field. So there you have it. That's my paintball team. Next question is from Bond335. This came via YouTube. Their question is, what anime let you down by the end without any specific spoilers, of course? Yes, we want to remain spoiler-free as much as we can. So the first anime that comes to mind is The Promised Neverland. But you want to know something? I only say that because I read the manga and I know what it could have been. But in reality, if I really think about the anime as a whole, without like the knowledge of the manga, it wasn't that bad. It had a fantastic season 1 and an okay season 2. In rethinking it, an anime that I've seen that was like a major disappointment to me is God of High School. God of High School is from a manhwa, so a Korean like manga, I guess you could say. And it's all about like kids in a high school tournament. So it's very action heavy. It's very action heavy and it's very action heavy. Unfortunately, the plot was very much a miss and messy and jumpy, and like there were scenes that didn't really piece together from episode to episode, or even within the episode. It was like, huh? How did we get here? I don't understand the objective of this story. Now, while the story is not complete and there's only a season 1, so technically it's not the end, I don't think this is getting a season 2. I think this ended up being a major flop. So overall, like, I don't think it was just a disappointment for me. It was probably a disappointment for others, but it just was way too action intense. And they were like, what's a story? What's a plot? Just it all. All right, next question. Next question comes from Life with Anime Podcast. Okay, quick plug. Life with Anime Podcast, I feel like are my anime bros, my anime buddies. If you are not currently subscribed to their channel, make sure you go subscribe, check them out, watch all their content, follow them on Instagram. They're also on Spotify and Apple, so you can listen to them in those formats if you would prefer to listen than watch something. But I highly suggest you go check them out. But you will get some of the most fun engagements between both of the individuals that run this channel. It's very debate intense, and I guarantee you will have a laugh in almost every episode that you watch or listen to. Okay, back to the question. So their question is, favorite sports anime. Favorite sports anime. I mean, I feel like my instant feeling is to say Blue Lock. Blue Lock is currently probably my favorite anime in regards to sports, because one, I used to play soccer growing up, spent many years playing it, so there's like a different type of, I guess, emotional connection to it. Two, a lot of the characters are much more relatable to me. And three, it doesn't feel like any other sports anime, because they're taking this team sports, you know, soccer, and they're creating a very individualistic narrative around it, which at first I was like, I don't understand how this is even gonna work. Soccer is a team sport. It's not like you can bring a bunch of strikers together and then evaluate them solo, but then you want them to play on a team. Strikers are too egotistical to play on a team, and the whole idea of Blue Lock is to bring out the largest egos. But for some reason, they make it work, and I am all for it. I love it. One day, I'm gonna continue reading the manga. I'm just gonna, wait until season 2 comes out this fall, and then maybe pick up the manga once season 2 is done. All right, next question is another personal question. So this question comes from Botany Boyspy? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but let me know. Their question is, what is your favorite color, and have you been to the moon? So my favorite color, very simple, is red. If you have been watching me for a long time, you'll notice, like, at least for maybe a quarter to like 1/3 of my videos, my lipstick color is almost always red. Yeah, I just have like 5 to 6 different shades of red, and I just enjoy the color red. My car is also red. I have a bunch of red dresses. It's just the way that I chose to live my life, I guess. And as for whether I've been to the moon, yes. In a previous life, when I used to be the moon princess. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, next question comes from Car Show Meister. Their question is, what are your pet peeves? And part 2 of that, and on the flip side, do you do anything that might be someone's pet peeve? As for my own personal pet peeve, I have this thing about dishes. It's not about the way dishes are washed, and it's not about like if you're washing the dishes or not. It's more about like if you just finish using like a cup or like a utensil or like a plate and then you put it in the sink, but you don't rinse it. Why? I just don't understand why. It makes the washing experience so much more simple. Now, as for what I may do that could be other people's pet peeves, I tend to like leave my lying around sometimes. And I don't mean to do it a lot. Sometimes I just like end up being really busy and my desk gets cluttered because I was out and then I just put them all on my desk, but I had full intention to put them away by the end of the day. But then I got busy again, and then the next day came and I said, I'm going to put these things away. And then I got busy again, and then the next day came, and then the next day came. So yeah, I don't do a great job at that. I'm sorry. Next question comes from Good Kid Games. Good Kid Games is another content creator, also has a YouTube channel. They also stream on Twitch. So if you're really into gaming, I don't do gaming, so don't ever ask me these questions. But if you're really into gaming, Good Kid Games covers a wide spectrum of games. They also do live plays and also cover gaming news. All right, but their question is, if you were isekai'd into another universe, what would it be? One thing I've always wanted was my own zanpakuto. And one thing I've always wanted was spiritual energy. So if I could pick a universe, it would be the Bleach universe, aka the Soul Society, because how could I not? Like, the drip is super cool in that universe. Like, everyone dresses nice. Everyone dresses nice. And then everyone's just super cool. Like, there's no one that's really uncool in that universe except for Dan Kanonji, that guy, that weird guy. But everyone else is just like dope to the fullest extent. And considering that not a lot of people die within the Bleach universe, I feel like I would be relatively safe. Next question comes from Mr. Music Major. Mr. Music Major is one part of Life with Anime podcast that I mentioned earlier. So their question is, what is your hidden talent? I don't have any. I don't have a single one. The end. No. I mean, I don't know if this is a hidden talent per se. Maybe it's just a skill that I've acquired thanks to the household that I grew up in. But I speak about 4 to 5 different languages. Not only do I speak English, I speak Portuguese, I speak French, I speak Spanish, and I speak Creole Portuguese. I have to make this distinction because whenever I say Creole, people think I speak French Creole, like what they speak in the Caribbean islands, and I don't. Não pergunta se eu falo Creole francês. I don't. Je ne parle pas, yo no hablo. There you go. All right, here we go. Next question. Next question comes from D. Biscorf. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And their question is, what are some of your favorite anime openings? Okay, I have a long list. I don't know if I'm going to say them all, but I have a list. First, I'm going to start with Unravel from Tokyo Ghoul. I think it's from season 1. That song is like one of my favorite, like, visual, also like audible songs to enjoy. Like, the visuals for that season 1 opener of Tokyo Ghoul are absolutely like stellar and beautiful. It makes you feel just so somber, and you get like the whole, like, I guess, desperate vibe that Tokyo Ghoul gives off, right? It's like a vibe of desperation and survival. And I feel like the title of the song really like matches season 1 well, where Kaneki is just really like unraveling himself while he's trying to figure out life in being half ghoul and half human. I feel like I would be completely remiss if I didn't choose any Jujutsu Kaisen songs. So, I mean, season 1's opener is really good, but I mean, season 2 had 2 different openers that were really, really good. So, Where Our Blue Is by Kitani Tatsuya, and I think, like, you know, I'm just a big fan of his now, which is like the first half of season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen. And then Specials by King Nu, I think that's how you pronounce it. That one just brings me despair but joy, because that season was just like so crazy to watch. That's how I'm going to describe it. But both of those songs just make me remember so much of what I was immersed in when watching Jujutsu Kaisen. And also, I feel like they just do another stellar job with the visuals for both of those songs. And to pick 2 other songs from anime that I have always loved and enjoyed since I was younger, one is Bleach from season 2, or the Soul Society arc, The Techno Life by Uberworld. It's just a song that goes really hard. And the visuals for that are very fun because you've got like all of the fights that I think that we get in season 2 or the Soul Society arc. So it's just like a really dynamically visual OP with just like a hardcore like rock type of song, which I am partial to at times. And the last song that I have, because, you know, I can't leave One Piece out of the loop, is the 20th opening for One Piece during the Whole Cake arc, called Hope by Nami Amuro. That song just makes me really emotional because when Whole Cake Island was a very, I feel like, struggle type of arc, trying to get Sanji back, like the emotional moment when Sanji and Luffy reconciled, the whole thing also with Nami, between Sanji and her, that was also emotionally intense, and just like overall Sanji's turmoil, black backstory. That song just made the aspect of watching Whole Cake a little bit more profound for me. So next question that I have on my list is from my good friend Eddie. So his question is, what anime character do you think you would have? Why can't I read? Let me say that again. What anime character do you think would be fun to have a drink with? There we go. So, that's a really hard question. I mean, first and foremost, any character that's under the age of 21, I can't drink with. That's number one. Who could I have a drink with? You know, I was reading somewhere that Gojo doesn't drink alcohol, so I feel like he's not even a viable option. But I feel like he would be fun if he did drink. But I can't choose him because he doesn't drink canonically. So, you know, who's also like really fun, also really mysterious, and just like weird? Urahara. Urahara Kisuke from Bleach. I feel like he probably drinks. And if he does drink, he would be such a fun time, especially because we don't know much about his character. Even with the completion of the manga and like some of the added stories, I feel like I still don't know much about his character. So I'd love to like drink with him. I'd like to get him drunk and know more about him and have him spill like his life secrets. That would be fun. All right. Next question is from also Good Kid Games. Their question is, what other hobbies besides anime and manga do you enjoy? I mean, I guess you wouldn't tell from following my Instagram page because I only post anime stuff. We try to keep things, you know, contained. But I tend to really enjoy just like physical activity. More specifically, right now, I am really into weight training and weightlifting, not the intense type of weightlifting, like bodybuilder weightlifting, but just in general, like weightlifting. I've really gotten into that in the past maybe year and a half to 2 years. And I try to keep a consistent workout schedule because of that. It's really like a big stress reliever. I find challenging myself in the gym and physically lots of fun. And it translates in also giving me tons of energy once I am done doing it. But not only do I enjoy that, I mean, anything that's physical, aside from bungee jumping, I'll try it. You know, skydiving, indoor rock climbing slash sports climbing, archery. I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff that I've tried, but doesn't come to mind right now. I mean, anything that will require me to use my body and exercise it to a level that I've never tried before always excites me and something that I actively seek to do. All right, next question comes from the Actual Anime Podcast. So, Good Kid Games is part of the Actual Anime Podcast. It's one part of them. They also are another content creator, like anime channel on YouTube, but they don't just do anime, which is kind of fun. They also do gaming at times. I remember they did this one Tekken video that really blew up. So you can get like a spectrum of other stuff on their channel, not just anime, gaming, also like other animated stuff as well. So if you're not just into like Japanese anime, but you're also into animation in general, they do talk about these things sometimes. So their question is, what is the biggest piece of advice you have for new content creators? I mean, I feel like I'm a new content creator still. Even though I've been doing this for like maybe a few years now, I feel like I haven't started to really figure out what I'm kind of good at until like recently. So like, do I qualify to give advice? I don't think I qualify to give advice, but if I had to give any advice, which I have been giving myself more often, is create what you enjoy most and have fun doing it. Even though what you don't know is that after I film this or anything, I sit down and I nitpick the crap out of everything that didn't go perfectly. I still try to have fun with it. I still have like enjoy what I do, what I create, and once I put it out, I am like so happy beyond the moon. And, you know, even if it only gets like 5 views, 10 views, it gets less than 100 views, I'm still happy with what I've created because it brings joy, like to my personal self and heart. I think that would be like my biggest advice. And don't try to like chase what other people are doing because, you know, I think I tried to do that and it just doesn't work for me. It's not my formula. Find what your formula is. And if it is inclusive of what other people do, then do it. If that's what you're good at and that's what also attracts audiences to your page, but also makes you happy and allows you to continue having fun, then do that. But I think the biggest thing is having fun, making sure you're doing it for you, but at the same time, be mindful of like trends, because trends is what brings viewers at times. I hope I didn't contradict myself there too much. Next question is, do you have any bad or rude habits you sometimes can't help? Some of these questions you guys have are just like really pulling back the fold on the bad sides of myself that I try to hide from, but you know, here we go. So, any bad or rude habits? I mean, I'm not really that great in meeting new people, especially IRL. Meeting people online, I'm great with because I don't have to see your face and I could be like real casual, you know, it's nothing serious. But once I meet you in person, sometimes I get in my head a lot and I'm just like, what do I say? I don't think I have anything in common with this person. Like, I don't think we're gonna vibe well. Like, I just have all these issues in connecting with certain people in person. And because of that, I become really standoffish. Sometimes I may not talk a lot, and it gives like the real vibe. I try not to give it off, but sometimes I do. And it's just like, it's something that I do actively try to work on, but I don't think I've perfected yet. Let's say that. I don't think I've solved it yet. So if any of you were to ever recognize me and meet me in person, and I end up being like very skittish and standoffish, please don't take it personally. I do it to almost everyone. All right, this next question comes from Angie Gonzilla. And first and foremost, I just had to ask them because their question was, what is your favorite unserious One Piece moment? And I recall when scrolling through Instagram that One Piece talk took a question like that on one of their videos once. So I was just like, hey, you know, because they mentioned that they had heard it on another podcast. I was like, by chance was this podcast that One Piece talk? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, huh, you know? Now, if you are a One Piece fan and don't know that One Piece talk, I don't know how, you should go check out their page. They do a lot of lives and analyses and theorizing on the mangas every single week that there's a chapter. Well, you know how like pre-time skip, I would say like One Piece is probably at its funniest. And I feel like whenever I think about the funniest moments in One Piece, they are all like Thriller Bark, you know, Zoro getting lost in Water 7 and then getting stuck in a chimney. I mean, Sanji's moments pre-time skip are pretty funny and less cringe than post-time skip. But I have to say that probably my favorite One Piece unserious moment is right after Law and Luffy makes an alliance, because that moment in itself, that whole episode I think is comedic gold. Right after that moment, Law says, all right, you know, we'll be an alliance. I agree to help you if you help me. I'm going to go help the kids that have been gigantified in like the kids' room. I need your ship doctor to come with me. Little does he know that Chopper is the ship doctor and he's basically paralyzed and can't move on his own. So the Straw Hats, Usopp and them, think it's funny to tie Chopper to Law's head and said, here you go, you know, please take care of him. And then you've got Frankie and Luffy and Nami all laughing in the background. I think Robin is chuckling because she's never really like laughed, but I think she's chuckling. That whole moment right there is perfect comedic gold because Law is so shook. Like, not only has he no idea what this alliance is about to become for the next 400 plus episodes, but just this moment right here makes him shook. So you just fear for Law's life for whatever is to come in the future. This next question also comes from the Biscorf. Their question is, do you have a favorite anime moment that resonates with you personally? So going back to my favorite sports anime, which is Blue Lock, the reason why it's also a favorite is there's one moment that really resonates with me and also made me a fan of this character is when Chigiri, who's a character who's been very aloof, not really putting his all into the Blue Lock system, realizes that all of this aloofness and lack of care stems from the fear of him re-tearing his ACL. I also personally tore my ACL and I really like empathized with his backstory and everything that he was feeling and his thought process in the episode that, like, you know, we learn more about him. And it was just like, you know, if I had watched something like this back when I tore my ACL, it would have given me more courage to play the sports that I really wanted to without thinking I was going to re-tear my ACL. Because I didn't play soccer again after I tore my ACL. I was so traumatized from the experience and the pain and just the recovery that the idea of playing soccer again felt unfathomable. But eventually I got over that. It took a little long for me to get over that, but it was wonderful to see like Isagi help Chigiri realize that he is going to regret it if he doesn't put his all into like the Blue Lock program. And Chigiri realizes that he's gonna go for bust, and even if he re-tears it again and it means like the complete end of his career, he will not regret it. All right, this question also comes from the Side Quest Hustle. Their question is, what classic anime do you think deserves a remake? All right, so if we're gonna talk about like, what does classic even mean? I mean, classic can mean all sorts of stuff. So, is it cheating if I say Bleach? Because we're getting new seasons of Bleach now, right? Because it had that whole canceled thing going on with it, but then fans really demanded that they finish the rest of the story, so they brought it back. So now we've got all these new Bleach episodes that are really fancy, that are really hype, and just don't match the animation from like what was previously animated. In addition to that, the conciseness of the storytelling is also not the same, because the first 366 episodes of Bleach is like nearly 50% filler. So if I could have something remade, like completely remade, it's those like early on arcs of Bleach, because Thousand Year Blood War is the very last arc. If I could have the rest of Bleach like remade, that would make me so happy as a Bleach fan. And here we go, our very last question. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you didn't, we're never doing it again. But our last question comes from Family Man Joe. Family Man Joe is the other half of Life with Anime podcast. But their question is, favorite non-romance manga? All right, so there are only like 2 manga right now that I can really say are like my absolute favorites. Now, my problem is that like, can I say Dan? Because, you know, it's multi-genred, it's not just romance, it's like action intense. If I can't say Dan, then it's gonna be Sakamoto Days. Because Sakamoto Days is just like absolutely ridiculous. It's so fun, it's so creative. I enjoy all of the different like weird quirky characters. They all have like weird mannerisms about them, especially with the way that they choose to assassinate people. And look, if you've never heard of Sakamoto Days before, like other people who are watching this, I did a video on that. You could go watch it. It gives all that you need to know on Sakamoto Days without as much spoilers. There's going to be minimal spoilers, okay? Minimal though. So yeah, Sakamoto Days is just so riveting. And in addition to that, like, if you don't read manga because, especially action manga, if you don't read action manga because you can't understand what's going on from panel to panel because it just doesn't translate well, Sakamoto Days mangaka Suzuki Sensei does a fantastic job in illustrating motion. Like, you can see the motion very clearly, almost as if it's popping off the page. And I mean, that in itself makes Sakamoto Days well worth reading and quite possibly like my favorite manga right now. But if I could choose Dan, I mean, Dan is like right next to Sakamoto Days. All right, now, there you have it, everyone. Thank you, every single one of you who submitted a question via all the different social media channels. I hope I was able to answer all of your questions in a thorough, proper manner. I don't know why words are starting to fail me right now. They're just like, I don't know. Anyway, again, if you didn't enjoy this, we're probably never doing this again, but it was fun. I had fun answering your questions, taking your questions. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about me. And you know what? I have a question for all of you who are still watching. What anime made you like an anime fan? Like, you've seen anime before, and it happens to some people where you've seen 1 or 2 animes, but you're not necessarily like an anime fan. But then you watch that one anime that just makes like anime a thing for you. What was that anime? I would love to know more about you guys in that context. And just feel free to comment below on this video. And if you enjoyed it, obviously share with a friend, like, and again, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, subscribe. I promise we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming in the next episode if I can find the way to talk properly again. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you so much for joining. This has been another episode of AniMel. I am the host, Mel, and I will catch you all on the next one. Bye!